Hello and welcome to the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. A very different mini podcast for you today as we celebrate an unwanted anniversary. Yes, a year ago today, on the 7th of March 2020, we left Northampton Town jubilant after winning 2-1. But what would follow in the coming weeks would be a world we didn't want to embark on. Yes, we've spent a year watching on the sofa. We've had lockdowns, we've had tier systems, and throughout all of it, we've been glued to our sofa as armchair supporters. How has that affected our mental health? How has that affected the way the Stags play and the way the game's watched and the way the games have unfolded? All questions we're going to answer or try to answer over the next half an hour on the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters, regardless of whether it's watching on a terrace or watching from the sofa. My name's Craig Priest, and joining me virtually, as it has to been over the last year or so, is Cam Felton and Nathan Edge, who, I'm going to open the curtains and let you in behind the scenes, have heard that intro twice now, because the first time I did it, I forgot to press record on our recording software. So there you go, we're already off to a great start. This, boys, is what happens when we don't do a show live. This is what happens when we pre-record. It's currently, as we talk, Friday the 5th, about 20 to 5. This is what happens when we do a live show, boys.
Your first round was so much better as well. Just sorry to break it to you.
I know.
It was just, obviously, if you guys had heard it at home, it just came off the tongue perfectly. Second time round, no, just put it in the bin.
Yeah, I might have to edit it in. I don't know. No, that's too much work. We are, boys, talking, of course, about a season on the sofa. Let's go back to a year ago today, in inverted commas, of course, when this is going to go out on the 7th. Nathan, we'd left Northampton. We'd won 2-1. We knew there was something sort of brewing. There was a lot of talk about coronavirus and stuff in the news, but I don't think at that point we particularly realised how serious the situation was going to be, and I don't think any of us anticipated what was going to follow in the coming weeks of, postponed games and then eventually the season being cancelled and all of that. I'd love to go back to that moment of blissful unawareness.
Yeah. It was one of those, wasn't it, where I think we knew something was round the corner, but I don't think for 1 minute any of us thought that we would be sat here a whole year later saying that we've not been able to attend a football match. That I don't think that sort of thought process went through anybody's mind. So maybe a few weeks. I think at that point that the idea was that the season would stop for 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. The initial plan. And then we'd resume and finish off the season and everything be back to normal. Well, as we all know now, that was far from how it panned out. Yeah, and,
the authorities and the governing bodies and what have you, Cam, have, tried little bits and bobs. And remarkably, there are some fans somewhere in the country that actually have seen their team play this season. Of course, we've played 2 games in the 2020-21 season, which have been, with fans in attendance, Cambridge away and Carlisle. So there was that little time where we might have been able to go back to the ground and things like that, depending on what tier system you're in. It was all a little bit sort of madness, really. But it's been very, very frustrating. And, we're not here to talk about the football on the pitch. We're here to talk about the stuff off the pitch. You've had a massive life change in this last year. You've moved away from the area, you've gone to uni. So in some respects, it's perhaps been a bit of a positive for you in some regards. The fact that, you're not alone in being in having to watch it online. Everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly. I think I could consider myself a little bit lucky. I've not had the cabin fever as such that a lot of people have got, where you are. A lot of people have had to go to the same shop every week to do the weekly shop. They've only been able to see the same people. And yes, I've still been able to see the same people, but with just where I live, it's walking distance to quite a few supermarkets, so I've been able to switch it up where I shop one week to the next. There's a Marks and Spencer's, there's 2 Aldi's, there's an Asda.
Whoa. We're not sponsored, son. Whoa. We're not sponsored. Can we not drop brand names out? None of these are paying me any money whatsoever.
But you get the idea. I've been able to switch it up. I've not had to stick to the same routine over and over and over again. I've been able to change it up. So it's helped me a little bit to not accept the situation, but just to keep myself on my toes as such. And it's been difficult, but especially adapting to a whole new surroundings, getting to know new people as well. And it's been fun in games, but fortunately I've still been able to go to some lectures, not since before Christmas, but I've still been able to do things that a lot of people haven't.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. Obviously, everybody's got their own different circumstances, which I'm sure we'll touch upon a little bit. Nathan, your life has changed massively and will continue to do so. You know, you're expecting a baby to come along anytime soon in the coming months, which is going to change it. But, you know, obviously not being able to see, it's going to be the whole football thing will impact differently on you because, you know, you rely on the audio quite a lot. Whereas, you know, we're still being able to watch it. I guess the thing for you when we used to be able to go to games a year or so ago, it was more about the atmosphere and, you know, taking in the smells and the sounds surrounding it. And has a lot of that been lost since since we've had to go to this new way of watching games?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got, like you just said there, the aspect of going to the match for the atmosphere, you know. But the second part of that, which I think is probably more important than that, to be fair, and that's the social aspect of it. So, you know, the home games I always attend with my dad. Sometimes my brother went along with me as well. That's what we always did that. And then when we get there, we meet up with different people, whether we go to the Sandy Pate Sports Bar first or we go to a pub in the town. You know, we always go and meet people first, you know, and it's kind of the group that we always we're always there with. We sit there with them in the upper tier of the West Stand. So I'm not that social part of it, which I didn't really realise, I think, before how much I kind of took that for granted. You know, it's after not seeing anybody for a year, it's very strange because I barely spoke to any of them. And then the same for away matches. You know, the same people, we always travelled in a car full together, or sometimes a minibus full together, you know, depending on the game. So that bit, I think it's more the social aspect for me that I've missed the most. You know, I'm not really any worse off in the fact that I can't see the game because obviously I can't see it when I'm there. The only benefit is at the home games, I do get the audio descriptive commentary, which Stags have been amazing providing for the last couple of seasons, which does enable me to, the iFollow commentary is great, but it, for me, the audio descriptive commentary is just on a different level for the detail that I get. So I'm missing that a little bit, but aside from sort of seeing the game, there's not too much different there. It's more the social aspect and the atmosphere that, for me, has been a miss.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing, isn't it? The social element of this whole thing has completely changed the way we feel about football. I'm going to be honest, I was thinking about this early today when I knew we were going to record this. If it wasn't for us, before and after a game, doing the podcasts which we have been doing, like we said at the very start, to try and replicate that match day atmosphere of having a conversation whilst all those emotions are running through your head after a game and trying to get a little bit of that pre-match banter. If it wasn't for us doing that, I would 100% have not watched this season. And that hurts to say that because it's completely different. I've never been one for watching football on TV, as a lot of you guys will know. I find it difficult to watch, and a lot of going to Stags for me, even from a very young age, has been about that social element and about meeting new people and feeling in a place where I feel safe and secure within myself. And to not have that, and to basically just switch a laptop on at 5 to 3, it's completely different. And I wonder how many other people are in that boat. How many other people have just not bothered, have got bored with it, and I've got other things going off in their life. Maybe, without wanting to sound stereotypical, maybe it's a thing where father and son go. I'm just thinking of my own situation. Me and my dad go to most games together, away games especially. How many others are like that? Whilst father and son go to football whilst mother and daughter stay at home or whatever. Having that whole family there, you might not have a chance to sit down and watch it. You might feel detached from it. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, Cam, with those who are elderly and those who perhaps don't have internet access or don't have a good device to be able to watch it on, or even the technical know-how to be able to do it. Those people who, for them, going out on a Saturday or a Tuesday, going to the game was their social thing, was their thing each week to go and see people and go and be around other people. How many of those people are cut off? And I think quite often when the games run and we're doing the podcasts, we get quite really swept up in the emotion of the game and what's happened in the game, and we've often forgot about that, which I think it's a really important thing to sort of sit and take that time to think about today.
I think it's more than just that, though. I just think just the social aspect of more elderly people being able to go out in general. Like you go like usually like Monday's pension day, or at a Tuesday or a Wednesday's a bingo day. It's messed everyone's routine up, and even down to something like just as an example, football in the community is active minds. How many of those do you will have had as a group to go and do activities and to meet people and interact with people? It's things like that that are going to impact as much as actually going to the football itself. That one-to-one interaction with other people.
Yeah, the whole community spirit around it is huge, and it's an interesting point that you say. There are so many different activities where football unites people and it brings people together, and those activities haven't been able to run because of COVID, which is a huge blow, and it can be really detrimental to people's mental health. And we've still got, even though the government have put these roadmap things in place, Nath, we've still got months and months ahead of it. We're not going to see a game this season. We know that's a fact now. We've perhaps hung on the possibility that we might get to see a game at some point. Certainly at the start of the season we thought, we might only miss one or two and we'll be back in by October. That didn't happen. So there's that there as well. We know we're going to be watching to the end of the season, so I guess the key message is try and connect with people in different ways as you can. We've done the podcast to try and bring people together, and we've gained quite an uptake on that, which is great. But maybe such a thing as, I don't know, having a Zoom call or a Skype call with others that sit around you on a match day and try and replicate the feeling that way. It's that message of just because we can't be together doesn't mean there aren't ways that we can be together.
Yeah, just like you were saying a minute ago about those that, we're great. It's great for us because we're born in the age where we're used to technology, and we've got the likes of podcasts to do, and obviously we go on Facebook Live every week, once or twice, sometimes even 3 times a week, and we connect with people that way. But like you say, there are people out there that can't. When we talk about the match, it's the only way you can connect with it is online. There's no local radio station that covers the full match. There's updates, but it's not the full match. So for people that don't have access to the internet, and as crazy as it sounds, there are people out there. It's different for them. So I think because for people, we need to think of different ways we can get out there and still interact with those people, whether it's by picking up the phone. Something like that can actually make a big difference to those people. But I think one thing going forward, and I know I think I'll look at things in a different perspective now, and maybe not take things as for granted. And hopefully, a lot of people will do the same thing. So, when we are allowed to go back to matches, I think I'll make even more effort to get into the Sandy's bar before the match to go and see people and have a drink. And, those activities, like you say, with football and community, that the club and the football and community are brilliant. And I'm not just saying this because you work for them, Craig, but we have as a club received awards for our family interaction, and I think those options are there, and I think that let's take them, let's go and enjoy them for what they are, and that's to bring people together, and that's what football can do. So for me, it's a matter of although we've still got a bit of a long road to go, when those days do come, I think we need to grasp them and appreciate them for what they are.
It certainly made me think more about how I'll conduct myself on match days and stuff, because if I don't go with my dad and I don't go, like I used to go with Cam sometimes when he were up in the area, and sometimes I'd take Nathan as well. If I don't go with you guys, I will go on my own, and I have gone on my own to numerous games, and quite often I've thought, why am I travelling 3.5, 4 hours on a coach on my own on a Tuesday night to Leighton Orient and sitting in a KFC just to stay warm until the stadium opens, and then as soon as it opens, sitting in the cold for another hour and a half before kick-off, and then travelling back and getting up and going to work the next morning. Why am I bothering doing that when, I could watch it on iFollow or listen to it on iFollow? Well, the reason is because I want to feel like I'm with other people, because football does have this unique thing of connecting people and getting people to talk to each other, and creates beautiful relationships and friendships down the years. We would not know each other at all if it wasn't for that common connection of football. Yes, we've found other things which have brought us together, through life, through radio stations and voluntary stuff, but we've only started talking to each other because we're Mansfield Town fans and because we had that link in common. And when you're at a game, regardless, I think about it now actually, there are people whose faces I can see and they will talk to us every single game, whether it's half time or before the game or whatever, and they'll chat about the game or the news or what's happened, at the club. I've not got a clue who they are, but without a shadow of a doubt, they'll have a conversation with you, whether it's a minute or 2 minutes. That's a great thing, and that's one thing which I always used to fear, because I'll let you into a secret. A lot of you will know. For a long time when we were in the conference, I was in a relationship with a fellow Stags fan who was great. We went everywhere together. She was like my best friend. Then we split up after we got promoted into the Football League a couple of years down the line. I stopped going to games for a while, got a little bit of depression and ended up throwing myself into production work, radio production work, which meant I wasn't allowed to go to games. And I used to have headphones on in the studio like this, and I could hear in my ear the noise of the crowd, obviously the game taking place, and after a while I would just switch off from it. But then there was a day where it got towards the end of the season. Steve Evans was manager, took over from Adam Murray that season, and we were on a bit of a good run of form and on a charge, and the last couple of games of the season I got asked if I wanted to sort of go along to the game and sort of help out and be like a pundit and do a little bit of on-air stuff. It was a bit of a reward for all the stuff that I'd done off-air, which was great. I seized the chance. I walked into the One Call Stadium. We were playing Portsmouth. I think they got promoted that year. I think they won the league. Great game, I remember it. I can't remember the score, can't remember half the players or anything, but I just remember the atmosphere, and I remember looking round and, just seeing all the faces that I'd missed, all the smiles and everything, and thought, I'm home here. And then the next game was Crawley away. I think that was the last league game of the season. I wasn't supposed to go to that game, but I basically said, look, either I'm coming with you on air and doing stuff on air, or I'm just not going to come into work on the Saturday and I'm going to go as a fan. I can't never go to a game again. Got to go to the game as part of the pundit team, and which was great. And at the end of that season, I thought, do you know what? I'm not going to do another season in work mode again. The following season, I go to every game. I think it might have been Crewe away, might have been one of the first games that season, which was great. I think I drove you. Did I drive you? I passed my test that summer.
Yeah, opening day, it was me, you and your dad, and I believe your dad got you a parking ticket.
Yes, he got me a parking fine. He got my car registration plate wrong. He went to put the thing in and got me a fine, which, to be fair, he did pay after numerous swear words. But the point is, I always remember being like nervous that day and thinking, oh God, what, I've not been for so many years. But again, those faces come up to you, they have a chat with you. And then as that season went on, there were times where certain people couldn't go for whatever reason, but I went to games on my own. And one of the ones I remember the most is going to Bury on my own, driving all that way to Bury, being sat in the end, and I was thinking, why am I doing this? I'm there on my own. I could just be sat at home listening to this. I could be out working or whatever. But again, it's those people who are talking to you and who bring you into conversation, who make you feel part of something, which is really, really great. And I don't know, I've just got this fear that people will be put off going again when football starts. But I want to say to them, don't fear it. Don't let your head win. Don't let all the worries in the world win, because the euphoria of going to watch your team, whether it's win, lose or draw, the result doesn't really matter. It's that having something to cling on to. It's that having that drive to do it. And sometimes it can get in your head and you can feel, oh, why am I doing this? But it's worth every single step of the journey, and the friends you make, the people you meet, it's just absolutely phenomenal. So I guess for me, I've been in that point where I never thought I'd go to a game again. When I was in that studio, I never thought I'd attend a game again, but I'm so glad I pushed myself to do it. So when we are allowed to go to games again, I just want to basically say to people, if you're scared, if you're apprehensive, don't be. Put that shirt on, put this shirt on, get your scarf on, get yourself through that turnstile, smell the Bovril wafting through the air, have a burnt sausage roll before the game, have a pint with your mates, go and make conversation, because there is one unique thing connecting everybody together, and that is Mansfield Town FC.
Quite poetic that was. Yeah.
I know. How do we follow that up, Cam?
I think also another thing that that makes football for me is, like, ever since we've started doing this podcast, it's like even just random people walking up to you and just saying, "Oh, I really enjoyed podcast this week." No idea who you are. Probably never met them in your life, but they know you, and they feel comfortable to come up and say to you, "Oh yeah, enjoying podcast. Where you on next week? Yeah, you're all good. Yeah." And it just makes match day different, because it's like you wouldn't get that anywhere else in life. Just people talking like about some random football thing. It's like, well, we as a collective on the podcast can help bring people together, especially this difficult time.
I really wish we could bring your internet together
to place that we could talk about football together as a Oh, my internet's gone to apologies.
Yeah.
How did you hear of that?
We heard like
robot, and then very fast talking. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Aside from the podcast, it's a bit like just the shirt or the crest. Like,
yeah,
what else apart from football? Well, I guess from sport to a certain extent. You think you go abroad on a holiday, and as soon as somebody sees a shirt or the badge, or I've got a tattoo on my arm, as soon as somebody sees that, and obviously they're a Stags fan, automatically there you go. It's that thing in common, a conversation started, and you again connect with somebody else. So that's the beauty of football. And you were saying about past years, Craig, and you could look at our recent history, certainly our era. We haven't had that much success. We've actually been through quite a lot of crap times, and dropping out of the league, and going to places like Braintree and stuff. Oh, great memories, things like that. But people say, although this is why I can't be one of those people that sits at home from Mansfield and support Man U or Liverpool from the armchair watching them every day. Because I feel like by
how can you
Mansfield,
connect?
even though it hasn't been good,
yeah,
we've got those memories. I'd rather have those memories of going to the games than having no club at all to follow, and that's what the difference has been. Like, if it's a decision between Stags being in non-existent or Stags being existent but not very good, I'll choose Stags being in existence and not very good
every single time.
Any day.
And do you know what, that it makes me laugh that and smile, because I always remember, like, when you were a kid and you'd ask all the kids in school, what team do you support? I support Chelsea. I support Arsenal. I support Man United. We're from Nottinghamshire. We've got X amount of clubs on our doorstep. Why aren't we supporting our local club? And a lot of that comes through armchair fans, and it really, really frustrates me at how you can support a club without going to watch the games. But I've had to swallow that a lot over this last year, because we can't go and watch the bloody games. So we have become armchair supporters. But I think we've got what the difference is. We've got that burning passion, and we know that at some point in our future we will get back through those turnstiles. We will enjoy cold Tuesday nights in next to nowhere. We will get up at 5 o'clock on a Saturday morning to travel to Barrow or whatever. We will do these things and support our club, and that will come good. And what I've just been thinking about there is, you know, what Mansfield Town means to you. Why did you start watching Mansfield Town? Was it a thing that had been passed down, you know, from generation to generation for you, Nath, or you know, was it a pure accident? How did you come to fall in love with Mansfield Town and end up doing this ridiculous thing where you just can't stop? You, as much as you want to end that relationship, it's unbreakable.
Well, pure accident, pure disaster. No, I think it's certainly been passed down through the family with me. Obviously, a lot of people know my dad's been a Stags fan for a hell of a long time. You know, you just said there a minute ago about getting that question asked in school. Well, I was answering that question honestly as Mansfield Town, even though I went to school in Chesterfield, which is always, you know, an eventful thing to do. But yeah, it's been passed down for me. You know, my dad started taking me as a young kid, and then I think it was the point where, you know, there's always a moment at football that I think it really, something happens that makes you fall in love with it. And I think for me that was Chris Greenacre. So you know, I think since then, obviously I'd always enjoyed going with my dad anyway, but regardless, you know, my dad considered moving to Spain in a couple of years, and I know even if he does go there, I'll still be going to the matches, because it's one of those now where I can't not.
Yeah, I can't imagine a Saturday or a Tuesday, if we're playing, of not going. Honestly, those days, Cam, where I knew we had a game on but I wasn't going, were the darkest days I've lived through. No, like even now, to be honest, sometimes on a Saturday I have to lock my car keys away, because knowing that we're playing just down the road and I can be there in 2-3 minutes is such a frustrating thing to not go and like jump in the trees and watch it from, you know, the Bishop Street end and do that. It's such a frustrating thing. And do you know what? I don't know. I'd never want to be in that position again. I really don't.
You in that cherry picker at that first game at season?
Damn it figured me out.
Yeah, it is frustrating. I think one thing for me is that I've been too far away that I wouldn't be able to go to every game. So that's something that's helped me cope with not having football. Because like, I knew that moving to Manchester would mean that I would sacrifice football, and it would mean I would sacrifice podcast. Unfortunately, we've been able to still watch football, and through this pandemic, we've been able to do podcasts via Skype or via Zoom or whatever. So it's not been too bad. But where I live back in Sutton, it's walking distance to the ground, and even through lockdown, it was just like when you were allowed to go for walks and when you were allowed a bit more freedom, but in the summer, I'd just go for a bike ride into Mansfield, go down into Mansfield, literally get to Field Mill Pond, sit down on the bench, a bit of a breather, and then back to Sutton on the bike. It was just, even though we couldn't go to a game, it was still actually being able to go past the ground, or even in walking through the car park and going to get a drink from Pound Stretcher just so I could walk down the back of the Ian Greaves stand. It was just weird, but it was just being able to like reconnect with something that we've missed so dearly.
That first game back, I don't know, it's going to be so tough. It's going to be so difficult. I've seen people, there's a post doing the rounds on social media of, you know, a shot from at the bottom of a stairwell which leads up to the top of the stadium, and I honestly think, I've said this to my dad a few times actually, that first game back into the stadium, as I walked to my seat, I honestly think, Nath, I'll be holding a tear back. I honestly do.
I was literally just thinking this earlier on when we were talking about the first day back, and I think it's going to be emotional, I think, for everyone. But I think also what an occasion it would be, especially, you know, we're going to be looking at next year. Not next year, so next season. So you know, August time, hopefully, and hopefully we can be basically up to full capacity then, or near enough. So it would be like like it always has been, you know, normal amount of crowd in there. And let's hope that, you know, everyone comes out, and I think if it pans out the way I imagine, which I think it will, I think people will just be so happy to be there and happy to see those, like we said, those people that they always see. And again, it's one of those that you might not personally know the people, but you have a connection with them because they sit on the same row as you, and they always pass you when when they go into their seat, and you always say hello and all that sort of stuff. But I think it'll feel very different to see those people again passing you on that row, because it's been so long since that's happened. So I just, and the same for me when we're walking up, me and my dad, when we walk up to the very back row at the West End upper tier. And so as we're walking up, there's obviously many rows, and as that we walk past, and there's many people that say hello as we're going up there. And it'd just be nice to go in there again and just say hello to those people. Never mind the actual football side of things. I think it's just that whole. I think the build-up will just feel very different.
Is this something which you cling on to, Cam, in terms of keeping that memory, that spark, that thing alive within you when it comes to match days and thinking about the future? Is there a specific thing which you think, I really miss that element, I can't wait to do that again?
Um,
That might not be a specific thing, but it's going to a game on a Tuesday night. There's just something on football under floodlights is just special. It's different, and it also goes back to my first actual game that I ever went to was a Tuesday night game. We played Grimsby. It was the JPT Northern Section second round. We'd received a bye in the first round, and then we beat Grimsby 3-0. And just football under floodlights is so special, and it made me fall in love with the game. And I couldn't go to every game that season because at the time I'd only been 6 or 7ish, so I was still
last
quite
year.
young. But it was just just because you're getting old.
I say you were talking about pensions earlier, Cam. I mean, that's great. We've got someone on the podcast to talk about that.
Oh, jeez. But just football under floodlights, and then it's also bringing back memories of more recent games. You think, whilst it might not have been the greatest occasion, but when we played Cardiff under the floodlights in the FA Cup, the replay, yes, we got hammered 4-1, but it was just the excitement. And then another one, Lincoln, when we beat them to play Liverpool in the FA Cup, another Tuesday night under the floodlights. There's just something so special about it, and that's what I missed the most. And yes, I missed the socialising and seeing you guys on match days, but making that. My grandma lives the other side of Titchfield Park, and walking across there and just the floodlights blaring down onto the park, it just makes that atmosphere a bit more special, and makes you realise why football is so loved.
Yeah, it is. I think everyone's got their own little thing. You mentioned about when you first started going. I first started going because I got bullied at school. I hated football for a long, long time. And then it was a PE lesson. I got stuck in goal because the weedy kid always went in goal. And I was against the school team, if you like, and one of the bullies, several bullies, they got a penalty, and the bully said to me, if you save this, if you don't let this in, you're for it in the changing rooms. And I just shut my eyes and tried to dive out of the way, and something inside me thought, I'm going to shut him up. And I ended up saving it. Then ran very fast after the lesson had done, ran home. But suddenly discovered that I liked football and wanted to go and see it, and somehow, by some stroke of fortune, got to go and watch a Mansfield game. It was under Stuart Watkiss in the 01-02 season when we got promoted, so we were playing quite well, which helped. And I remember seeing Kevin Pilkington have an absolute stormer and thinking, yeah, I want to be a part of this, and just seeing all the different reactions and the energy and stuff. And there's been so many over the years that I can sit and think of about certain moments of certain energy and nervousness and things like that, but it brings a whole thing. If it wasn't for that one moment, go into a Mansfield game specifically, I would never have said to myself, this is what I want to be doing on a Saturday afternoon. If it wasn't for that, I would have never have found, something, a love of media, something to have a common interest to write about and then forge a career from that. I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I had to fall in love, to find a family, to make fantastic friends, do a ridiculously good podcast.
So we are friends now then.
I didn't say who those friends were, Cam, and never mentioned you. But all of those things, are a specific consequence of going to watch Mansfield Town. And I feel that this season a lot of that has been missed out on, and I just hope that it brings people together again. If you're at school, or if you've got kids at school and they've got a friend who they like having a kickabout with, talk to the parents and bring them to a game. See if you can go along together as two families and go and enjoy it, because honestly, the buzz and the delight, alright, the football's not always great, it's Mansfield Town, what do you expect? But honestly, the ups and the downs that it brings, the stuff that it teaches you is absolutely fantastic. Going to Mansfield Town, wanting to go to games, that desire to want to go to games pushed me to do my driving test and to pass my test and to get a car. It's pushed me to go into a certain line of work and to do things, and having it there as a constant is great. I know we were going to sit and talk about like how it's affected things on the field. I think we're going to skip past that because we've got the end of the season podcast to moan all about that, and I'm sure we will in great detail. But I think the one thing that we wanted to get out of this, Nath, was to just reassure people that, you know what? Yes, it has been a whole year. And you know what? A year ago, when it first happened and when it all came in, at times it didn't seem like there was going to be an end to it, but we've adapted. We've got through it to a certain point. But when it comes back again, it's really imperative that we get down there and support our club. Buy a shirt, buy a scarf, buy a programme, speak to people, make friends with people, because honestly, the journey that it takes you on is much, much, much more vital and pivotal than what you'll get sitting on your arse watching a TV screen.
Absolutely.
I'll never moan about going to Rainworth again, just as a quick one. Rainworth pre-season.
Appreciate it, isn't it?
Limbs.
Yeah, I can't wait for that first pre-season friendly. Mansfield Town 11 against Clipston. I'm there. Get me there. Every game I'm going. I can't wait. And you know what? I hope out of all of this, Nath, just a final point, that if any footballers are watching this, for them it won't be too different. For them it won't have changed too much. Yes, they've not got the crowds there to spur them on. They've not got any of that. But in terms of a mindset, it's still a job. It's still something they do every single Saturday afternoon. And believe you me, if you're watching or listening to this, it is an absolute fucking privilege to pull on that shirt and to go out and represent any club, whether it's Mansfield Town or whoever, because you've got a bunch of fans waiting at home, desperate to come and see you. And I really think that hopefully this whole thing of not having fans there will spur the players on next season to kick in and to try and get their club promoted. And I think as a consequence, next season, the season where we're allowed back, touch wood, cross fingers, lucky horseshoes and all that, will be so much more competitive as a result, because hopefully, this is my feeling anyway, I might be wrong, but hopefully those people, those footballers will want to say, this is your reward for sitting it out, for supporting us from your sofa. This is the start of our next journey. We want it to be a special one. I
think for me, what I sort of certainly will myself, and hopefully this will be the case for other people as well. But I think to also appreciate football a little bit more, like when you're there. We all obviously are very emotionally involved with our football clubs, and we come away, if you lose, you do feel gutted and sometimes angry, and you get all these emotions, and that's important. And it's what fuels our podcast, really. We love it when we come on here after a match, and you've got all the positivity. You lose, you've obviously got frustration, and that it's good to get those opinions out there because we are emotionally involved. But at the same time, I think people need to appreciate and a bit of gratitude that football is there and it's something for us to do. And it's same for players as well. I think yes, it's a job for them, but also what a job to be in. If you've got to work hard to get to the level of professional football, but when you're there, try and enjoy that. And I think when the fans are back in the ground, that should hopefully be more of an enjoyable experience, because that's what it should be all about. It's about, football is technically an entertainment business. It's not to us, it's more than entertainment, but I think it's all about emotions and everyone coming together for the simple thing of following that football club, and I don't think there's not much that's more powerful than that.
I'm going to ask you both the same question to end on now, because I know we've all got lives to be getting on with. It's now 5:15 on Friday evening as we're recording this, and we've all got lives, and we're going to see each other and speak to each other twice tomorrow, so we don't want to spend too much time on with each other because, we're not friends. So I'm going to ask you both one thing. Nathan, I'm going to start with you. If you can pick one thing and one thing only which you're going to be looking forward to the most when it restarts, and when we're able to go again, what will it be? It can be absolutely anything. What one thing have you missed the most, which you've not been able to access and have as part of this whole season on the sofa?
Although obviously I love going to the One Call Stadium. For me, the first thing, the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is, I think, that first big away match. When we're going to have a car full, or a bus full or whatever. When one of them games where you feel like the whole town's going, everyone's talking about it, everyone's getting up for it. My dad normally drives. We normally drive through Sutton, pick up a couple of people from there, and you're driving past all their houses, got the scarves out the window, banging on the back of the car in the motorway.
Oh, when you see other people who are Stags fans on the motorway and you start pipping at each other, that's great. I missed that.
Or see opposition and you're getting them fingers
and
stuff. But it's the banter, but something about that. What other world would you... there's nothing else where you'd be in that situation, would you? Where a group of 5 lads or whatever, in a car, obviously women as well.
Being absolutely fuming at the traffic on the way there, and all being on edge about getting there on time.
And my dad, don't there's a match on to every slow driver in front of him.
And then your dad taking the wrong turn. Then your dad taking the wrong turn and us being like 10 minutes even later for crew away. That was.
Yeah, well, we won 3-0, so it was all right.
Yeah, it was all right in the end, but we did miss 2 goals, so it's...
But no, for me, it's that. I love those away trips where we're all in the car together and you have that catch-up on the way down, and on the way back, you're literally discussing the game for... everyone becomes a manager for the 90 minutes journey or whatever it is on the way home. I just can't wait for that again.
Yeah, Cam, what about you?
Just reiterate my earlier point. Floodlight football, it's just something different. It's being able to live your life like you usually would during the day, and then know that I've just got to get through to 6 o'clock, and then I can get on the bus to Mansfield, or I can walk to Mansfield, and I'll be at the ground shortly, and going to the nearest fast food restaurant and picking up a pre-match snack, and then getting to the ground. You pick up a bag of sweets in the nearest corner shop on way, and
notice how he's stopped dropping brand names now. He's decided not to put brand names in.
Yeah, corner shop.
But walking from mine to the Stones ground, I don't actually think you pass a single proper shop. That's the only thing. But the point is that just being able to have that match night routine, and yes, it's great to go to a football on a Saturday and that, but floodlight football is just something special, and just being able to live your life you normally during the day, and then be like, just got to get through to this time, and then I can go then I can go to the football, and everything will be all right with the world, and it's just going to be special to actually be able to go back to that first game home way. I don't care where. We could be at Exeter on a Tuesday night. I don't care. I'm going. I'm straight there.
I'm fighting back the tears now. Sorry, because it's been that long. For me, I think there's so many. Like Nathan said, the journey. Like you said, seeing the floodlights. I think for me, there's always a minute of hope. Football is such a ridiculous game, especially when you watch Mansfield Town. But there's always a minute of hope, and it's when the music starts and the teams walk out of the tunnel. They walk up from the tunnel towards the halfway line, shake hands, do the coin toss, get ready to go before the referee, puts the whistle to the mouth and starts the game. There's always a roar of anticipation, all the songs and the chants. That's what I miss. We've had a laugh on the sofa. We've been banging the sofa and singing a few of the chants, but it's not the same when somebody on a random Tuesday nights where there's about 100 fans because it's a ridiculous journey, and it's a core of idiots who've just taken 2 days off work, 2 days holiday, to go and watch this 90-minute game, and there's a chorus of yellows which erupts from nowhere when you're 4-0 down. That that moment before kickoff when, you know, you don't know what's going to unfold, you're excited for the game, everyone's got the same thing, there's always like, come on, you Stags, come on, you Stags, all that roar starts going up and the applause and all of that. That split second of hope of what can come over the 90 minutes, that split second where every single thing of, you know, worries, stress, from your working week, from your normal life, evaporates into the air and you just become engrossed in this drama, this being of passion for one thing, which is football. I can't wait for that moment. And do you know what? It's not the same watching it on TV. Hopefully we've brought some of that on the podcasts which we've done. But that first moment, I will be crying because I know that we're back where we want to be. And where we want to be is in a stand, in a terrace, freezing our bollocks off, freezing our boobs off on a Saturday afternoon, on a Tuesday night, all with one common interest, Mansfield Town FC. And there's nothing in the world which comes close to that. They don't know what to say. I've literally made them speechless. I've done it. I can't.
I was waiting for some, you know, dramatic music to come in.
Yeah.
If I'd have,
it didn't happen, did it?
No.
It's an anticlimax now.
Welcome to the Mansfield Masters podcast, where it is an anticlimax. And speaking of that, Cam's got to go. No.
I've just got one thing. I don't want to bring it onto a somber note, but I think that something that football does help, obviously, is mental health. And I think something that we also need to remember is that whilst we might have lost said thousands to this horrible virus, there's so many more that have decided to lose themselves and do something tragic. And I think that's also something that we've got to be hopeful that something like football can help. I mean, I've just got the stats from just last year alone. 5,691 suicides in the UK. 4,303 of them were men. And I think that's a stark reminder that there's more than just football in this world, and more than just games in general, sports in general. Because for some people, it is more than just sports. And I know we talked about the more elderly people earlier in the show and spoke about how going to football is their way of interacting, being able to come out into the world. But I also think it's something that people can escape from, whether that's they're stuck in the house, they live on their own, they might be going through depression, alcoholism, drug addiction, something that's making them not themselves, but still being able to go to football and being sort of like being at home and surrounding themselves with people and someone to talk to about something that they love can be just as powerful as any medication that could be given to them. That social interaction.
It is a lifesaver. It is. Yeah. It honestly is a lifesaver. Like you say, you know, there are various reasons why people, you know, get into that position in life, and I think, you know, it is a tough one to talk about, and it doesn't have a number. It doesn't have an age on it. It can happen to absolutely anybody, male or female. We say males predominantly because, you know, there are more. Traditionally, it is a more male-dominated, supported sport. That's fact. But, you know, it can happen to males and females, and I think for every single person, no matter what they're going through on a Saturday, which is the point I was trying to allude to earlier, for that split second, like I say, everybody's united in one thing. They forget about all the troubles and everything like that, and that is why I hope that football, you know, we can get back to it next season. We can get back to going to games home and away and building those friendships and saving those lives. It saved my life numerous times. It stopped me from doing unspoken things, doing stupid things, making stupid decisions. It's given me a focus, and, you know, hopefully it can for for other people as well. And I think that's the really important thing to remember. And the other thing, of course, that message is, even though we can't be together, like we said, numerous times in the show, get yourself on Facebook Live if you can. Come and join us. Drop a comment in. We always try and read them if we can. Send us a private message if you want to. We are all Stag supporters. We can help and seek out those organisations who do sterling work on that as well, because, honestly, there is a way out of it. And there was one point in this pandemic where I did think that we might end up watching football like this for the rest of our lives, or for a couple of years, and hopefully that won't be the case, and people have worked hard to ensure that's not the case. So yeah, just speak up and be unified in following the Stags. It's highly unlikely that anybody's stumbled on this podcast for any other reason than Mansfield Town FC. So that already gives you a starting point for a conversation. Share it, get involved, push yourself. Every one of us on this podcast, on this panel right now, has done that in some way, shape or form. Nathan, he knows, more than anyone really, the whole sight loss thing that could have stopped him going to games, but he pushed himself and has done numerous things to get that audio descriptive commentary in place for him, and to finally feel safe in a football stadium and feel at home. Cam's forged himself to, make friends and get a career and go off to uni and put that minuscule brain of his to work. I've, like I said numerous times, relationships, friends, family, all of that good stuff, which wouldn't have been possible without Mansfield Town FC. And it's quite poignant because there was one last time. I'm going to end on this one little story of potentially hope. Like we say, we're recording this on a Friday night. Tomorrow we play Barrow. We'll have already played that game by the time this goes out. So well done for winning, boys. Well done for drawing. You're useless. Why did you throw that away? That's that. All bases covered, yeah, Nath?
Yep.
All bases covered. 29th of September 2009. Barrow away on a Tuesday night. One of those things which were mentioned, why on earth would you go to Barrow on a Tuesday night in the conference? Why not just stay at home, save your money, watch it on CFAX or whatever, listen to it on the radio and save all of that grief? I'll tell you for why. That day was one of the lowest points in my life at that point when I sat out that morning. But I went on the bus, the supporters coach, and people spoke to me about Mansfield Town. They've made me forget about all the other stuff. Then when I got there, my whole life changed forever by getting dragged over a wall by a small man who'd won numerous broadcast awards, called Tony Delahunt, who's the managing director of Mansfield 103.2, who gets a lot of slack and things from Stags fans, but that night he gave me an opportunity to be fan in the stand, and from that point onwards I knew that I wanted to be involved with media and all of that sort of thing. And without that specific moment, this podcast wouldn't have happened and any of that wouldn't have happened. But the point is, that morning I didn't want to go to the game. I wanted to stay at home, hide away, lock all the doors, close all the curtains and feel trapped, like Cam was talking about a couple of minutes ago, with those people who are suffering from mental health problems and all various other bits and bobs going off in their life. But something sparked inside me, and that was Mansfield Town FC, and that's the power of football, and that's the place to leave it. Nathan, last chance to have your say today. Obviously, like we say, it's been a year on the sofa. That first game, we've got to watch it together, haven't we?
I think so. I mean, it'd be interesting to see whether
we never watch games. We very rarely watch games together.
No, I mean, we very rarely win as well when we do. So that might sway
That's true.
the decision.
But you know what? For once, I don't care. I just want to be with my friends who have. Yeah. No, I can't wait for it. So whether we're home and away, whether it's a pre-season friendly at Clipston or Reneth or wherever, I think it'll be a joyous occasion for everyone to get round. And I think, it's been a tough year for everyone, for all different reasons, whether you're in football, in the football world or not. We've found something for us. This podcast for us, I think it's been our coping mechanism to a certain extent.
But we also, like I say, we hope it's been helpful for a lot of you guys listening as well and joining us on the Facebook Live. So a big thank you to you guys joining us, because it's we wouldn't have the podcast or the show without you. So big thanks to you guys too.
Cam, what about you?
Mine is whether anyone sees it or listens to it, I don't know. Mine's a request to the club, and this is something that's going to be a bit weird, but traditionally you always play the smaller clubs away, the Rainworth, the Clipston, the whoever, and it's always like one of the first pre-seasons you go to. We always play a little team at home, away, and then we'll play someone a bit bigger at home. Make that first pre-season game, that first game that we can go to at home, I don't care who we play. We could play the academy team or whoever. The club, make it a pound a ticket, get as many people in as possible, and just make it a great atmosphere, whether it's a pre-season friendly or a league game. Get fans home, and as a fan listening to it, go to the game. Whoever it is, we don't care. We just want to watch football, and we just want to watch the Stags again, because we've had enough of watching Man United or Chelsea on the telly, or Liverpool because it's on Sky, or whoever. We just want to watch Mansfield, and like the name implies, Mansfield matters, and it always will.
Annoyingly, it's quite a good idea.
It is, and I don't like this.
No.
Because, some of the ideas have come up with, all of the ideas have come up with so far.
Hey, the COVID Cup, that's a
Awful.
quality idea.
It's another thing. Thank God we haven't touched on. I mean, the end of season podcast will be interesting to go over all that sort of stuff again. But yeah, that is actually a decent idea, Cam. Well done. That to get the first friendly actually at home. And actually, I think it's even better if we do make it against the likes of Clipston and Rainworth, because it allows for more people to come in, and it's more money to also support those clubs that have, although they're on a smaller scale, there's fans that support those clubs, and people that work there, they've suffered just as much as we have, so probably even more. That for long we've not really had that much football. So if we can also support those clubs on a bit of a party atmosphere, get everyone back in there, I think that'll be the perfect welcome back to football for me.
Absolutely.
Well done.
Yeah, well done, Cam. That's a horrible place to end. My thanks to Nathan and to Cam. I will see them again soon for another virtual watch-along of the games. Remember that you can follow the action with us virtually, Facebook exclusive, about an hour and 10 minutes before kick-off for each game. Join us for that, and then 15 minutes after each game for all the reaction and the debate. Thanks very much for joining us. We intended to do half an hour. We've done an hour, which says it all. Football on the sofa for a year. A little bit longer still to come. Keep grinding it out, folks, because honestly, that first moment, the first time you hear the turnstiles click, smell the Bovril wafting through the air, and chant yellows and sing all the songs will be magical. Keep your heads up, keep your spirits going, keep fighting, because one day it will be back. It never even disappeared. Why? Because it's always been in your heart. This is the show for the fans, by the fans, because Mansfield always matters. Sofas, do one.